I was just taking a minute to let some of our other SCA members come in. I know sometimes it can be difficult to meet at 7 o'clock directly, but I see that we have 22 participants online already, and we have enough for quorum, which I'll get into later. So welcome everyone to this the Stonebridge Community Association's 5th annual AGM. This has been since we've been incorporated, and we're thrilled that you've all been able to join us this evening. Thank you. My name is Jessica Lumsden. I'm currently serving as the secretary of SCA, and I will be co-chairing today for the presentation, which we plan to go through in the next hour. Before we begin, I would like to start off with a little land acknowledgement. As we gather here today, we acknowledge that we are on traditional and unceded territories of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, whose stewardship of this land continues to this day, and we express our gratitude for the opportunity to live, to work, and gather while committing to learning about their history and fostering respectful relationships. Before I pass this over to our SCA president, Jay McLean, I wanted to run through a few of the basic rules of engagement for this AGM, especially for those who've not attended one in the past or done this online. So I'll first off start by letting you know that tonight's AGM is recorded so that there are a record of attendees, motions passed, and any voting being conducted. If you've noticed that all the mics have been turned off as well as the videos, this is to reduce any disruptions and ensure everyone can follow through along. And the Zoom webinar will allow us to conduct pollings and voting amongst all of our members in order to fulfill our statutory requirements of the Ontario Non-for-Profit Coordination, the Corporation Act. Sorry, I'm fumbling my words so give me a second. So in terms of the information package, we hope that you took time to review what was sent to you November 13th, as it provides details pertaining to conducting tonight's business, including passing of motions and voting. For passing of motions, we will be asking someone to first move and for a second before proceeding to members' votes. To do this, we ask that you type into the Q&A feature, either first or second, to self-identify. The person to do so will be noted for meeting minutes. When answering poll questions, you will have 30 seconds to vote by selecting your response on the screen, and results will be immediately shared with the audience. Quorum for the meeting of the members is defined by 10% of the membership base. We currently have 368 members in good standing, so we require 37 voting members to meet quorum. There are a number of participants through Slack, which we have 7 panelists. And we have a number of participants, and then we've also had proxies that were provided before. And if you've noticed that we had 41 voters. So we can report that quorum is met at this time, and we may proceed with calling the meeting to order. I'm sure some of you have questions. You will have the ability to submit questions using the Q&A feature located in the black band of your Zoom screen. These will be taken up at the end of the meeting once the formal portion of the AGM has been adjourned. Please take a moment to locate the Q&A feature. You may need to hover your cursor over the bottom of the band until the band appears. So the bottom of your screen until the band appears. And with that, I'm happy to introduce our current board members. And I will pass it over to Jay.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedules. For anyone who is attending an SCA AGM for the first time, it's really great to have you with us. For anyone who is new to the Stonebridge community, I extend a warm welcome. Although this is our 5th virtual AGM, as Jessica mentioned, it has been a year since we've run one with using Zoom webinar. So I ask for your patience this evening while we do our best to move efficiently through our agenda. I am planning on presenting a significant amount of information this evening to provide you with important updates pertinent to the organization and our community. All members who are in good standing with the SCA are eligible to vote tonight and should have received the AGM information package initially distributed on November 13th to those that had registered. This information package included the agenda for tonight's meeting, the minutes from the last AGM, the list of motions, the treasurer's report, the 2023 financial statements, and the nominating committee report that includes the proposed slate of directors that will put a motion forward this evening. This package included the information relevant to all the motions that we will ask you to vote on tonight. As indicated in the announcement, we will not be reviewing the contents of the information package in detail, and we assume that you have taken the time to review this material as you saw fit. Thank you to those who have submitted their questions in advance, and we hope that you found our responses helpful. In accordance with the bylaws of the SCA, please note that there is only one vote per household. The individual who identified themselves as the voter for the household during registration should be the only one voting this evening, please. In addition to the voting members present in the meeting this evening, as Jessica mentioned, 41 members have chosen to vote by proxy. All voting results will be validated after the meeting and shared with attendees in the meeting minutes. Please note that the primary objective of the AGM is to satisfy our statutory requirements as a not-for-profit corporation, and the motions being tabled this evening to vote on will meet these requirements. We appreciate your patience during the presentation and look forward to responding to any questions you may have in the Q&A segment immediately following the adjournment of the official meeting. All right, I'm going to start by just walking through the agenda that was part of the information package. You'll see that we've called the meeting to order. The first motion, the first of 5 that we will table for you, is the approval of the agenda, which we're reviewing together right now. Then we will move to approve the AGM minutes from last year that was reporting on the 2022 calendar year. All right, then I'm going to present a set of slides as part of the President's report. I'll then move into an area related to the financial aspects of the Stonebridge Community Association, talk a bit about the Treasurer's report and provide a quick overview of the 2023 financial statements. And then we will table our third motion of the evening to waive an audit of those financial statements. In the next section, we'll talk about I'll review the slate of directors with you and put a motion forward to elect the board of directors for the next term. And the 5th and final motion for the evening will be the adjournment of the official meeting, which will be immediately followed by a Q&A. And we have the majority of the board here with us tonight. And we'll be happy to stay as long as required to get through your questions and comments. All right, so the first motion that we'll table this evening, as I mentioned, will be the approval of the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda of the annual general meeting be approved as circulated. The proposed agenda was included in the AGM information package in section 2. This is an ordinary resolution requiring a simple majority of votes to pass. So as our first motion of the evening, and with the others that will come, I'm looking for a mover and a second for this motion. And the way you can support that is by typing first in the Q&A chat there. And
Thank you, Greg.
And looking for a second, please.
And Jay has seconded.
Perfect. All right, so I'm going to launch the first poll. And hopefully you'll see a polling screen. Right now, I'll wait 30 seconds. And maybe a little longer, just make sure everybody gets in there. Okay, good. 30 seconds is up. I'll end this poll. And I'm going to share the results. Hopefully you'll see the results there. We had 14 votes, all voting yes. And for the record, the 41 additional votes by proxy vote yet yes as well. All right, this motion has passed. Thank you. All right, the second motion of the evening, we'll get through a couple of these quickly, and then I'll have some slides to present to you. The second motion is the approval of the minutes from the 2022 AGM. Be it resolved that the minutes of the 2022 AGM be approved as circulated. The minutes of the 2022 AGM were included in the AGM information package in section 3. This is an ordinary resolution requiring a simple majority of votes to pass. And I'm looking for a mover, a first for this motion, please. That can be done just in the Q&A chat. Looking for a first. Perfect.
First,
Thank you.
John, thank you. And Scott, do you want a second? And we have a second. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. I'm going to launch the poll for motion number 2. And I'll leave 30 seconds here to respond. Right. Thank you very much. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. We received 13 votes and 13 voted yes. For the record, for motion number 2, 41 additional votes by proxy are voting yes as well. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to move into a set of slides as part of the president's report, talk to you about a variety of different things. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about background for the SCA. I'll move in to a few comments around the legislation that guides the SCA from when we incorporated, say a few words about a couple of outgoing board members, talk about one of our top priorities from last year, board recruitment and transitioning, provide an update on the Stonebridge levy, and talk a little bit about the golf course and the future of the golf course lands, and then I've got a few other topics there to cover. All right, so I am going to start by just talking a little bit about background. The SCA, although in an unincorporated form, has been in existence since the early 2000s. In 2019, related to some of the work that was going on related to Mattamy Phase 16 and Mattamy's proposal to build homes on the golf course, the SCA ended up incorporating. It's a not-for-profit organization incorporated in the province of Ontario, and we are governed by the Ontario Not-for-Profit Corporations Act, ONCA. Our fiscal year is the calendar year. It ends on December 31st. And the AGM, by those statutory requirements, needs to be held within 15 months of the last AGM, which we held in September of 2023. All right, this AGM is reporting on the 2023 financial year. We are here in November, so you know, we're almost a year after that calendar year ended. I will present information from the last year, but in terms of the financial picture, the statements we circulated are from 2023. that I'll be providing an overview of. Okay, I'll just mention a couple of things about Anka. Some of you may be familiar with this legislation, but when we originally incorporated, we actually incorporated under the Ontario Corporations Act. Anka had not been proclaimed into force yet, but folks in the not-for-profit space knew that this was coming. I think it was originally approved in 2010. So there was some time that passed before that actually came into force. We knew that that was going to be the case. So when we designed the bylaws for the SCA, we ensured that we did have compliance with Anka. Last thing I'll note is that the province introduced it maybe a couple of years ago now, an Ontario Business Registry. This has kind of streamlined some of our interfacing with the provincial government related to our corporate records. So that's a nice thing to have and a little less work administratively for us to do on paper. All right, I'd like to just say a few words about a couple of outgoing board members. Mike Kajowski and Renuka Holman. Unfortunately, neither Mike or Renuka are here with us this evening, but I just wanted to say a few words about their contributions. Mike joined us in 2018. He served for 6.5 years, which is a long time on a volunteer board. Everybody serving on the board are volunteers. He came on initially in the role of Director of Communications, and in 2020 also assumed the role of the Vice President. Wanted to mention that Mike was one of 11 members of the Stonebridge Working Group, which was a group of very dedicated volunteers that stepped forward at the time to help navigate the issues that we faced as a community related to Mattamy proposal initially to build on the golf course. So Mike was a member during that period and made major contributions during a time that was very divisive in the community, and communications were incredibly important. So I just wanted to say a word of thanks to Mike for his outstanding contribution to the SCA. And I'll also mention that Mike has agreed to stay on in an advisory capacity, as a number of our other volunteers have in the past. And he'll give us a hand with any further transitioning work we need from what he was carrying. Renuka Holman served a similar amount of time, 5.5 years on the board. Renuka joined us initially to support some of the work we were doing in advance of the Stonebridge Working Group to try and improve the electronic reach in the community. She helped develop an inventory of all the streets and addresses in Stonebridge, which was a key input into the door-to-door campaign effort that was rather extensive at the time, to make sure that we had connectivity with as many residents as possible. Renuka, after that, moved into a role of Director of Parks and Environment, which she just contributed many enormous ways over the years. She oversaw all of our Adopt a Park obligations with the City of Ottawa's Adopt a Park program. We have to run a couple of cleanup events every year. She oversaw those, recruited volunteers, looked after all the organization, and involved other people in recent years in delivering those. Was responsible for the introduction of many improvements to parks around the community, especially W.C. Levesque of late. Things like trying to improve on garbage disposal and getting us on the radar for the pilot program. I'll talk a bit about those things in the future, but just wanted to say again a word of thanks for Renuka. 5.5 years. Both Mike and Renuka have young families, and time is precious, and very grateful that they took the time to dedicate their efforts towards the SCA. All right, this slide I'd like to talk a little bit about recruitment and transitioning. So when we presented last year, we were a board size 5. We were losing one of our key volunteers at the time of the AGM, and we identified our top priority as the recruitment of new volunteers for the board. those priorities we knew needed to involve, operational knowledge transfer activities and transitioning, with the key goal really of trying to maintain an operational continuity to keep things going, get a new group of folks involved that can learn and help ensure we're meeting our statutory requirements and anything else that was deemed important enough to pursue with a smaller set of hands. All right, so very, very pleased to report at that last AGM, we onboarded 5 new board members, so we went up to a full 9 board size, which is the maximum size in accordance with the bylaws of the SCA. And over the course of the last term, I would say extensive knowledge transfer has occurred in various different areas. You see the most notable ones there in that list. Jessica as the secretary. We were losing a volunteer in that area, and Jessica's just helped us in so many great ways along the way, help us get organized and keep our meetings flowing. And Jessica's done a lot of great things already. Cyril joined us in communications, obviously a very heavy role, a lot of responsibility there. We're receiving, communications from residents throughout the year on a wide variety of different topics. And we do our best to try and navigate through those and raise awareness on those things that are most important to us within the community and what's happening around it. Dion joined us in a very, very important part of the association, software maintenance and administration. We have a lot of software tools that are integrated to deliver all the things that we do and maintain memberships and that kind of thing that need to be maintained. And Dion jumped in there, a lot of technical savvy there that's helped us greatly in the last year. Colin joined us and has taken on the area of membership management. Have a constant stream of communications throughout the year related to membership payments and how to get new members on board and that kind of thing. So Colin's doing a great job there. And Kenneth, she is overseeing a couple of portfolios for us, very important portfolios, development of transportation and safety and security. And Kenneth, a very strong network in the Barrhaven community and has helped in a variety of ways already in navigating changes that go on in those areas. All right, last thing I wanted to mention tonight, and you'll see Stephanie's name on the proposed slate of directors. Stephanie has agreed to come on board with us. You may recognize the name. Stephanie has been the lead organizer of the Stonebridge Food Drive, which was kind of independently led and delivered. Stephanie's expressed an interest in coming on board and giving us a hand with events. That portfolio has been vacant for a number of years now. So we're just really excited to have her on board. And she's joining us through a field placement that we've created with Algonquin College, where she's studying right now. All right, next couple of slides relate to the Stonebridge levy. So for those of you who may not have any background in what that is, I'll just talk very briefly about the nature of the levy and then give you an update on where it stands. In November 2019, there was a community vote conducted in favor of the levy. That levy was ultimately approved at Ottawa City Council in October of 2020, and in May 2021, the Stonebridge levy was implemented on the final property tax bill. All right, in terms of implementation, the levy was defined to raise $7 million over a 9-year period, running from 2021 to 2029, $7 million for the purpose of buying the Stonebridge golf course lands. All right, so at the time, the estimate that was being billed per year was, you'll see there, about approximately $780,000 from the over 3,400 homes that fell within the Stonebridge catchment area based on 2019 impact assessments. All right, so that worked out to be about $48 for every 100,000 of assessed value for the homes. That was the estimate, and the actual value came in just a little under that, 46.44. You'll see there. All right, so since that first year, which came in on the one final payment, that levy charge comes in. It's split between the interim and the final bills. And all new homes in Stonebridge in the catchment area are included in the levy, and that number has increased in recent years with the small number of new builds that have occurred in the community. All right, so in terms of collection, this levy is being managed exclusively by the City of Ottawa, and any need for collection is in their hands, and they would be using their standard collection methods should there be a need to do so. All right, so last thing I'll mention here is the Stonebridge levy account. We obtain the balance from the city every year. It takes them a couple of months after the calendar year end to prepare the statement. And we reach out usually late February, early March each year, and we obtain an account statement for the levy, and we post it on the website with updates and descriptions of the line items on each statement. All right. Okay, so I'll talk to you a little bit about the numbers where it sits right now. So again, the statement I'm reporting on here is from 2023. So we would have received this statement and posted information about it earlier in the year. But these are the latest numbers we have. I won't have the 2024 account statement until the spring. All right. You'll see there that the number of properties increased 133 from last year. So it's up to 3,633 properties within the catchment area. This statement was as at December 31st, 2023. So the starting balance was, you'll see there, approximately 1.4 million. The revenue amount that was collected in 2023 was $811,000. You'll see that's coming in a little bit above what the original estimates were. And that's attributed for the most part to the increase in the number of homes in the catchment area. All right, as we knew from the get-go, there would only be nominal interest materialized on that account, and 0.5%. So you'll see that there was $44,000 of interest in 2023 earned. Okay, so the account balance at the end of 2023 was, you'll see there, approximately $2.3 million. All right, which is on track. In 2024, assuming a similar amount came in, I would expect that account to be sitting at probably about 3.1 million, which is, continues to be on track, maybe a little ahead of it. In the first year, there was a charge related to the land transfer tax, which we were aware of. It was about $117,000, and then there was another expense related to some of the environmental assessments that were required to support the purchase and sale agreement. So that's why it appears in previous years a little lower, but every year they've collected the amount that was expected, if not more. All right, so I'm going to talk about a few things about the golf course. Some of them are kind of low level, some of them are big picture. So the first few, just a few things I wanted to mention. During the agreements, when they were struck, Mattamy was naturally redesigning the golf course. The vast majority of the redesign has already occurred quite some time ago, albeit it did take quite a bit longer than initially anticipated. But the last item that we were tracking from the redesign was the putting green, which they've implemented just last season and is expected to be in use, I think, in the spring, or the last I heard, I think, which is great. Wanted to mention that the club's still offering discounted green fees and membership rates to Stonebridge residents, and it's great that there's this short period of time at the end of each season where they basically offer memberships exclusively to Stonebridge residents before they open it up to the public, which we naturally appreciate for anybody who's interested and engaged in the game of golf. Right, so Next few bullets here are more big picture. Just wanted to point out a couple of key dates that we keep our eye on. In the two-party agreement between the SCA and the City of Ottawa, there's a key date in there. You'll see November 1st, 2028. That's a date by which the SCA has to advise the city if the Stonebridge Golf Course will be operated as a golf course. All right, so based on where we're at today, that's about 4 years out. And you'll see the more significant date there is October 30th, 2029, which is the date of what was referred to as the tripartite agreement between the SCA, Mattamy, and the City of Ottawa, which is when the actual purchase and sale will take place. All right, which is about 5 years from now. Right, so we do have some things planned in the upcoming term, trying to initiate some initial planning activities and do a bit of road mapping. Have received some interest from some residents in just chatting about the future and the golf course, and that's going to be a priority for us in this coming year. We've got some increased capacity, and we'll start some discussions, about how the future looks, and start thinking about how to prepare. All right, I'll just mention a few other things here that are of note. The Crossgate Park, that's a new park in Mattamy Phase 16, or the Crown, as it's referred to now. We added that to our list of adopted parks. I think we're up to 5 parks now on the Stonebridge Trail. Our household membership levels were maintained. We're always pleased when we're able to maintain or grow each year with our household memberships, knowing how many homes are turning over every year. Think about on average, there could be up to a couple hundred homes that are turning over every year. So we're always looking to kind of keep that membership level up. We treat it as a priority to try and ensure that all the traffic calming measures that you see without the community, that they're maintained, and that they're extended as needed. I know a lot of residents do an incredible job in advocating for better traffic calming measures throughout the community. We're working on some right now that I'll mention on a coming slide related to Kilburnie Drive, but we'd like to confirm with the councillor's office, every spring, that we're going to get those measures back in place. Touched on this briefly already, but WC Levesque, we got the numerous sets of recycling containers installed there as part of the city's pilot program. Kilburnie Park was on it already for a couple of years, but managed to get, after some advocating there, get some more bins installed. A lot of very, very popular park, especially with, a lot of the cricket activity that's going on over there, and they just needed a lot more bins to support the activities that were going on. All right, wanted to mention on the Stonebridge Trail, the dog leash designations there. The signage has always been a little confusing and arguably not consistent with the actual designation. That's something that causes a bit of confusion, and we hear about that a lot, actually. So we've been working with the council's office, and the signs have some signs have been removed to ensure that they are consistent, that there's a little more clarity that on the trail itself, that dog leash is required. But that's one of the many things that Renuka was working on, and I think she was looking into that one for years, literally. So really happy to report an improvement there. All right, last thing I'll note here is that Councillor Hill, though he is managing his engagements with the community associations, he holds what he refers to as President's Summits, and we've been attending those, throughout the year. When he's holding those, it gives us an opportunity to collaborate with other CA presidents and key stakeholders in the community. All right. All right, I'm almost through my slides here. Thanks for your patience, and then I'll get into the financial section of the presentation. So in terms of SCA events, I mentioned we haven't had somebody in the dedicated events role for some time now, but we did our best to try and pick what were the most popular or we were obligated to hold events. I'll mention some of them here. We held the Just for Fun soccer program again. Usually get 100 or more kids out. One of the other board members, Colin Lumsden, he gave me a hand. This year, we kind of co-manage, but very, very popular program for the young kids in the community. You'll see we held our spring and fall cleanups where we try and clean up all the parks and the trail with the volunteer hands that choose to come out. We had the garage sale. We sponsored the Canada Day in Barrhaven, similar to a lot of the other CAs in the councilor's office. Big event that we know a lot of Stonebridge residents benefit from. We had our movie night in the park, which we try to make sure we at least do one of every summer. Also a popular one for the families. We co-hosted the Barrhaven Family Skate Day. This year it's coming up on December 1st. And we do that with the West Barrhaven Community Association, Half Moon Bay and Barrhaven East. Yeah. Last thing I'll mention here, also a popular one, the Kilburnie Outdoor Rink. We've got a group of dads that have jumped in there recently. We still have one of our volunteers who's been serving with us for an extended period of time, Andy Nera, but we had a new group of dads in there who are just doing an incredible job. It's really, say this every year, it's a bit of a thankless role there to be out there in like -20, -30, spraying ice on a rink for the people that are interested in getting out and skating. So can't thank those volunteers enough. We're at that time of year where the boards have been up for a bit, so we'll be reaching out to see who's interested in giving us a hand this year. But kudos to the folks that they're involved in running that rink. All right, not a comprehensive list, but and I've touched on some of these already, but I'll talk a little bit about some of the things we consider priorities for the upcoming term. We're always keeping an eye out for what's going on in surrounding developments. The sprung shelters, Barrhaven being proposed as a potential site, was a good example of something that a lot of Stonebridge residents were interested in, as were the other residents in Barrhaven. So we do our best to kind of keep an eye on what's going on around and navigate those paths, and with the ultimate objective of trying to make sure folks in Stonebridge are aware, wherever possible, of what those things are. We'll continue to advocate kind of on the infrastructure side. This is not just Stonebridge, it's Half Moon Bay, it's Barrhaven, but this is one of maybe that was the top priority for Councillor Hill when he got elected, was trying to push that Greenbank realignment through as quickly as possible. And of course, there's the Longfields expansion, at least from Cambria and south of that to Prince of Wales, that we still really need. But I think that's sitting out 2030 timeframe still, based on the city's priorities. But we'll continue to make sure that the residents' concerns are known at every opportunity. Traffic calming measures. So we've heard quite a bit concerns around the lack of traffic calming measures really on Kilburnie Drive. If you compare it to what's been implemented on the other side of Stonebridge, say on Golf Links, like Riverstone, Pond Hollow, really, really extensive measures, which I think are doing a great job from what we're hearing. We'd like to see similar things on Kilburnie. Numerous reports of speeding, some close calls, with folks just out walking around and cars just going way, way, way too fast. All right, so we're hearing about those, and we consider that a priority that we'll continue to work with the councillor's office on. All right, always looking to improve the membership base and electronic reach. Now that we've done some ramp up and transitioning, this might be an area that we spend some time on in the next term. And as I already mentioned, we'd like to get some initial preliminary planning going on related to the Stonebridge Golf Club. All right, more internally, we want to continue those knowledge transfers and transitions with the board members who have decided to put their names forward again. Get our volunteer in the events portfolio, Stephanie Birch, ramped up, and support her in whatever she chooses to pursue. And we have a vacancy right now in the Parks and Environment portfolio as a result of Vernuka stepping back. So we'd love to fill that in the next term as well. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Just give me 1 sec. PowerPoint just crashed on me. Hopefully we can see that again.
We can see it, Jay.
Good, thank you. Okay, I'm not gonna spend long in this financial section of the presentation, but I'll just talk a little bit about it. All right, the documents, the financial statements themselves and the treasurer's report, they were included in the information package for the 2023 calendar year. All right, if anybody's interested in taking a look at the tax filing, we're always open to share that. I'll just give you a quick overview. We're looking here at just kind of 6 years back. What you're going to see here is pretty small numbers in terms of finances, but you'll see that what we've kind of settled back into what was normal looking pre-COVID and pre-Mattamy Phase 16. So you'll see, you look back there in 2018, 2019, 2020, expenses and revenues in some of those years fairly high. At a high level, that can be attributed to the legal and professional services costs that were incurred to navigate that path with Mattamy in the city of Ottawa. And on the revenue side, the extensive fundraising efforts that went on to cover those costs and replenish, a reserve with the SCA. All right, in this last year in 2023, you'll see it looks very, very similar to 2022 and 2021, frankly. All right, so not much to note there. I'll just talk to you a little bit about the breakdown, what you'd see in the financial statements. You'll see in terms of expenses, there's a couple $1,000s being spent there on software licenses and hosting of the website. Pretty standard, couple $1,000s on insurance, the 2 policies. The directors and officers and the general liability. Expensive, kind of a going concern for a lot of nonprofits is how expensive those policies are for these volunteer associations. And you'll see $5,000 there was proposed, came in a little over that, but that's all the expenses related to the soccer program, movie night in the park, any expenses that come in through the this running of the rink and that kind of stuff. All right, so nothing too out of the ordinary there. In terms of where revenues are coming from, vast majority of the revenues are coming in as a result of membership fees. We do get some grant funding for the rink through the city. And you'll see there's some revenues coming in from registration fees from the soccer program and nominal interest there. We have moved some of our funds into a high interest saving account this year that you'll see the results of next year, but that was recommendation that we got at our last AGM that we were pursued. All right. I'm going to just talk a little bit about, try to frame the third motion here of waiving an audit, talk a little bit about the rationale. Auditing costs are naturally very, very high. You can see that our revenues are really quite low. We think, if, an estimate that should we have pursued an audit, it could have, consumed 30 to 50% of our annual gross revenue. Under our guiding legislation, ACA, corporations with gross revenue less than 100,000, which of course we fall way under, may waive the appointment of an auditor and an audit. So this is actually designed specifically for small corporations like the SCA, where the high cost of an audit is just not justifiable. All right, so there are controls that we have in place just in terms of our internal process and whatnot. Our treasurer brings a quarterly report, to our board meetings. We do have some basic spending controls in place in terms of expenditures. If they're less than $500, they only require executive committee approval. If it's over $500, we require full approval for that, board approval for that. We do monthly bank recs and, you know, using standard accounting software. So again, our numbers are not that big. Risks are quite low. So the board has decided again, as it has in previous years, to not pursue the audit. But we do bring this forward each year at the AGM to vote to put to yourselves as our members. And the last thing I'll note here is should this be a no vote to actually have an audit done, then of course we would pursue an audit to get that done. But we'd likely have to eat into our operational reserve to cover those costs. All right. So motion number 3, I'm going to table that now to waive the appointment of an auditor and an audit. Be it resolved that the appointment of an auditor and an audit is waived. The rationale for this motion is included in the treasurer's report included in the AGM information package in section 5. This is an extraordinary resolution requiring at least 80% of votes to pass.
John passes first.
Oh, perfect.
Do we have a second motion?
Just looking for a second.
Scott seconds it.
Perfect, thank you. All right, I'm going to start the vote for motion number 3. Wait 30 seconds, then I'll close that and show the results. Okay, I think everybody's voted. I'm going to end that poll. Thank you very much. I'll share the results. So we had 14 votes come in. All 14 were yes. And for the record, the 41 additional votes by proxy have voted yes as well. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move into our section on governance. Just say a few words about the nominating committee and the report. So we do run a short period for a nominating committee. That committee was formed on November 4th. It consisted of 4 members of the board. The mandate for the nominating committee was to produce a slate of directors for the AGM for the election today. And that nomination period was opened on the 4th and closed on the 15th. That report was included in section 7 of the AGM information package. All right, to all the bios for the existing board members that have chosen to put their name forward, as well as our new board member, should you choose to vote yes, Stephanie Birch, her bio is on the website there as well. All right, now we run this nominating committee right before each AGM, but we are always open to take on new volunteers at any time. Should anybody have any interest at all, please don't hesitate to reach out and we can talk about the opportunities that we have. All right, so the slated directors, what you'll see here is you'll see anything in black are kind of those folks and the roles that they're sitting in that are choosing to put their names forward again. I'll just note that as I mentioned before, environment and parks, that portfolio is considered vacant. Got a TBD beside the vice president role. That's the role that Mike held. There's some interest within the board to fill that role, so we'll look after that as part of our next term. And you'll see there in events that we have Stephanie Birch expressing an interest in joining us on the board. All right, so I'm just going to move to motion number 4, the election of the board of directors. Be it resolved that just give me a second here. Oh. Be it resolved that the proposed slate of directors be elected to the board of directors of the SCA, The nominating committee report was included in the AGM information package in section 7. The bios for the candidates and the slated directors was made available on the SCA website. This is an ordinary resolution requiring a simple majority of votes to pass. All right, I'm looking for a first and second for that motion, please.
For those of you who might have come in late, if you hover your arrow down towards the bottom, you will see an icon that says Q&A. That's where you can second it first. Greg has first it, and I see Aline has first, but can we accept it as a second, Jay?
Yep. Thank you very
Right.
much. Okay, I'm gonna run the motion number 4. I'll launch that now. Okay, hopefully you see that there. Wait a few seconds to give you a chance to vote. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to end the vote and share the results. We got 13 votes there. 13 votes were yes, and for the record, 41 additional votes by proxy are voting yes as well. Thank you. All right. So last motion of the evening, I know I kind of rolled through a lot of slides there, but I do want to get into that Q&A section. So we can talk a little bit if you have any questions or comments. This is just to officially adjourn the formal part of the meeting, motion number 5. So I'm looking for a first and a second for this motion as well.
Thank you, Scott, for the first. We're looking for a second. Aline's for the second.
Perfect. Thanks so much. All right, I'm going to launch that vote. All right, hopefully you see that. Oh, perfect. All right, thank you so much. I'll end this vote and share results. I had 15 votes. 15 votes were yes. And for the record, 41 additional votes by proxy vote yes as well. All right, so that's the last slide that we had planned to present. I think we'll move into the Q&A. I presume that there might have been some questions that came in during the course of the meeting, but I didn't have my eye on those. I'm not sure if you did, Jessica.
Yes. So hi, everyone. It's Jessica again. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the Q&A, and I will go through them and read them out for Jay. So Jay, the first one we have says, why is the interest in the golf course funds only being earned at a rate of 0.5%? Could it be put into a money market fund or a GIC, which pay a lot more?
It's a really great question. The interest rate is dictated by the city. So the way the Stonebridge levy was set up, it's a segregated fund that's exclusively managed by the city of Ottawa. We don't have any direct control over those funds. So unfortunately, this is the standard rate for any funds that sit in a similar mechanism, a levy at the city of Ottawa. So unfortunately, no room to move there, just because it's not within our control, and it's by standard policy there at the city. Great idea though, if we could.
Okay, another question has come in.
Mm-hmm.
When will we have meetings in person again? Great opportunity to meet new neighbors.
Yeah, it's a great question. We've, even when we're holding these AGMs, we started holding them virtually. It went through COVID, that kind of thing. For those who've been in the community long enough, you'll recall that there was a time when we had our AGMs at the golf club and held them there. We weren't incorporated at the time, so things weren't quite as formal, but I'm sure we'd be able to find a way. Um, I think this format doesn't lend itself badly to what we're trying to do with the voting, but I think it's a great idea, and I think we'll take that away and talk more and see if we can't incorporate some in person. Couldn't agree more. Be a great time to kind of get together and meet some neighbors.
There doesn't seem to be any more questions, but I'll wait a little bit.
Oh, I think I've found the questions here.
There's a few more that come in.
Okay, good.
So one is, could we include a petition for 40 kilometer per hour speed limit on Kilburnie and Dundonald to match the 40 kilometer limit to the Half Moon Bay end at Dundonald Drive and other connecting streets?
Yeah, we definitely could. As a matter of fact, like there's a number of recommendations that came from a small group of residents who, if I'm not mistaken, I think at least one of them's down in that Cairnsmore Circle area on Kilburnie. But that's exactly that area where we've been hearing quite a bit folks from. They're 40 kilometers on some of those larger streets on the east side too. So that is one of the things that that we're going to request. Yep, it's a great idea.
And the next one is, does the community need to vote to continue to use the golf course at the end of the levy in 2028? From Garnet.
So that's a good question. Um, what I can tell you is that the vote that was conducted for the levy was associated with the implementation of the levy itself at the city. So it was the city of Ottawa who actually conducted the vote. All right. There is no requirement for a levy to conduct a similar vote to choose the path forward with the golf course lands. So regardless, we know that the lands will be procured. There's a number of key decisions that need to be made that are outlined in the legal agreements. One of them has to do with ownership, whether the city would maintain ownership of the golf course and enter into somewhat of like, think kind of like a lease agreement to operate the golf course, or any of the other options that are on the table. So I don't think we can say that there is definitely not a formal requirement to hold a community-wide vote tied to the levy implementation. How we decide as a community to navigate that path and make those decisions, I think is a really good question. And one of the reasons it's important for us to start thinking about even things we know are, 4 years away, start thinking about how best to navigate that path.
And the last question, when we buy the golf course, has any thought been given to the cost of maintaining the pro shop and the building?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there's been consideration, given to a lot of the costs. I know the Stonebridge working group at the time, was privy to the financial aspects of the Stonebridge golf course. There was collaboration that took place with third-party operators, that kind of thing, while we're trying to assess the landscape and trying to come up with a proposed solution. So I think it's that and everything to do with operating a golf course are things that I think we'll need to consider deeply. As part of the purchase and sale agreement, there is accommodation to access the Stonebridge Golf Course financials under an NDA. And when the time is right to do that, that'll be something that'll be done to support the analysis that's going to need to go on. In trying to again navigate that path forward with the golf course. A lot to work through in the coming years.
I think there's a comment on asking for some clarity or maybe clarifying the wording. So from Aline, it says, you mentioned the city ownership of the land, that the city's ownership of the land. Many people believe the community will be the owner. This needs to be clarified.
Sure. Yeah. So I can talk just a little bit about that. But I think that kind of leads into a larger question. But the city of Ottawa holds the funds. The city of Ottawa is the only party that can actually purchase the lands at the time of purchase. And then there is accommodation in the agreements that ownership could technically be taken on by either the SCA or a nominee corporation that is associated with the SCA. Those are really the only options that are supported, but it's a really great point around what some folks might think. If we look back at when, for those folks that were in the community at the time, and Eileen, like you being so involved at the time, your knowledge of everything that was going on would be quite extensive. We have so much turnover in the community, at 200 homes a year, over half the community may have turned over and just have less familiarity with what was decided in the agreements and the arrangements and that kind of thing. So I think one of the big elements to preparing for the future and putting a roadmap together will be how to ensure that residents do understand the details of what occurred at the time, so that they're in the best position to kind of contribute to the path forward. It's a great point.
And Lewis says, thanks for running a great meeting, Jay and Jessica, much appreciated. That's a great segue to the end of this.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So just in closing, thanks everybody. I know everybody's so busy, and we're coming into a really busy time of year for everybody. So thanks so much for taking your time and joining us. We need your support to continue our work. So thank you very much.
If anyone else has any more questions, please feel free to call or email us anytime. Thank you very much and good night.
Good night now.